When I was a kid, there were two things that my little snot-filled brain loved with all of my heart: toys and video games. Toys allowed me to create new stories with my favourite characters, pitting them against each other and having crossovers that you could only dream of.
Wait, that's illegal.
Still waiting for that Batman and Ninja Turtles crossover, by the way. Oh my god. They're so ugly. And video games allowed me to get sucked into a brand new world full of fun, adventure, and a lot of gamer rage.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
But never in 1,000 years would I have dreamt of simply combining the two together. Enter Hypercharge Unboxed, which does, well, exactly that.
I love my break!
Developed and published by Digital Cybercherries and originally released all the way back in 2017, it's recently been released on PlayStation 4 and 5. The game is a first and third person shooter game that sees you step into the shoes of your very own action figure. Your character is under the command of Sergeant Max Ammo, a popular action figure of a typical grizzled war veteran who's been through hell and back. But Scottish.
Hocus pocus, there's pizza on your focus.
You'll be armed to the teeth with an arsenal of different guns such as assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, laser rifles, and miniguns with ridiculous recoil.
Now that's a lot of damage!
I find that gameplay in shooter games has to be 100% perfect. The guns need to have that weight behind them and feel very powerful when you're firing them, but not to the point where it sacrifices how easy they are to use and the fun factor. So, does Hypercharge pull this off? Well, I'd say yes. There's weight behind every single shot fired, but not to the point where you lose control of the weapon and start firing all over the place. Couple that with some top-notch sound design and every gun you pick up feels great. However, here's a problem. 90% of your time with the game will be spent with automatic weapons. The automatic weapons are so good at everything that they negate the need to look for better and arguably more powerful weapons. Take the starting weapon for example, aptly called Standard Issue. It has a 36 round mag, a good rate of fire, and the range is pretty decent. You can make it even more overpowered if you find various attachments in the levels, find a scope to get better range, or find a stock for less recoil. The possibilities are endless. Not to mention that some of the other weapons that you would consider to be extremely powerful are anything but. Anything explosive like a grenade or mine launcher takes multiple rounds to destroy enemies. Shotguns only work if you're close enough and shoot it as precisely as possible, and snipers, I mean, what is even the point of having these weapons when everyone is jumping around like they're playing a game of Warzone?
Why are we going so fucking fast?
Bottom line, why would I waste my time with novelty guns like those when I can just spray and pray until I come out victorious? It does not compute. But shooting things is not the only core part of Hypercharge's gameplay. You've also got the parkour. Considering you're a little tiny toy instead of a fully grown man, you're gonna see a lot of common things from our lives in a brand new perspective. You'll have to scale household objects and close gaps to gain a high ground advantage, find collectibles, or new weapon attachments as mentioned previously. This can feel a bit sluggish at first thanks to how slow your movement can be, but after a good couple of hours with the controls, you can easily get the hang of it. It's not the smoothest, but the parkour does just enough that you're not constantly regretting having to climb a ladder to get more collectibles. Okay, so gameplay aside, what does Hypercharge actually have to offer? Well, like most iconic shooter franchises such as Halo, Battlefield, Doom, not you, definitely not you. Hypercharge Unboxed has a full campaign and various multiplayer modes. The campaign will see you fending off hordes of enemies led by the sinister Major Evil. Each level will see your character and 3 other players or bots defending these power stations called hypercores. It's your job to prevent the enemies from destroying the hypercores by building defenses such as poorly put together Lego squares, vines for some reason, and sticky gamer fluids. Each one of these traps can be built by collecting credits, currency which can be collected in a number of different ways. However, here's the thing. credits can be used to build more than just defenses, and it's up to the player how they use them. You see, whilst traps can be useful and don't cost that much to build, you could save your credits and instead build a nearby jump pad which could take you somewhere with more to find. But in doing so, your defenses are lowered, which makes the hypercore more vulnerable and easier for the enemies to destroy. And let me tell you, these enemies do not mess around. They'll swarm you from everywhere and make you feel so overwhelmed that you'll start to get a panic attack. Enemies such as the army tanks and jeeps, to the spinners that propel you all over the map like you're a fucking pinball, and the drones that just won't leave you alone. Go away!
He's already dead!
Hypercharge is great at getting players to think as tactically as possible instead of mindlessly shooting. If you don't plan ahead and think logically, your hypercores will get shut down quicker than Concord and it'll be a game over. So the goal is simple: gather some credits, strategically build your defenses, stop the invaders from destroying the hypercores, survive multiple waves, bada boom, bada bing, level complete, and you're done. Here, have a cookie. It's different from what we typically associate with shooter campaigns, and it's quite refreshing to see a new and different take. Instead of going from room to room killing more bad guys for about 20 minutes, you instead are staying in a single room and killing loads of bad guys. Genius! The only bad thing I will say about this is that the formula can get a bit repetitive after a while. There's only so much defending you can do before your brain just goes back into that goblin mode that it's trying to steer you away from. But each level offers a lot of replay value, which is thanks to one simple thing: unlocks. There are tons, and I mean tons, of unlocks to obtain in the game. Character heads, colour schemes, weapon skins, even the packaging of your action figures box. There is so much stuff to unlock in this game. Now I bet you're thinking to yourself, alright, where's the in-game currency? Am I going to have to take out a small loan just to get the Lady Wrestler skin? Well, what if I told you there isn't any? Not only can every single one of these cosmetics be earned in the game only by playing the game, but there are no microtransactions at all.
You what?
In each level, you will have both main and optional objectives, unique tasks in the level that can earn you some new goodies. These can vary from finding all the medals in the world to platforming from one part of the map to the other in a specified amount of time, to doing silly stuff like flushing the toilet, sounding the fire alarm, or making every PC gamer's nightmare come true.
I don't remember. Hello? Hello?
On the flip side, there are the game's difficulty settings. Completing various challenges in the levels will earn you medals based on your performance. Earn the higher tier medals and you get new drip for your action figure. It's a satisfying system that keeps you playing for hours on end. Overall, the campaign is pretty decent. It's got some hiccups, but it's a good way to learn more about the world, get more skill with the game, and earn some sweet new gear along the way. However, if campaign isn't your thing, then don't worry. The multiplayer will scratch that itch. The multiplayer could best be described as a toy version of Unreal Tournament. Running around the map, shooting anyone you come across, and maybe finding a weapon along the way that isn't a ton of crap. The multiplayer has 5 modes in total. I've ranked them from worst to best based on my overall enjoyment. Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch are more or less tied for first. It's the game mode for shooter games, and is almost a requirement for the genre. King of the Hill was decent, and I found myself having some fun on occasion, but it's mostly a deathmatch game with some objective stuff thrown in for good measure. Capture the Battery suffers from the exact same problem. It's a deathmatch game with one guy actually trying to play the objective. But the worst by far is Infection. The maps are way too big for something like this, and need to be a bit more claustrophobic to add that fear factor and tension into it. And also, one round before game over? Just one.
Just one.
Also, as you can tell, this isn't Hypercharge. I had a few games of Infection, but the game crashed and I couldn't save the clip. I did try and get back into a match, but the game does this stupid thing where it gives you a server for a completely different game type. Overall, if you're going to try the multiplayer out, just stick with Deathmatch. You're always guaranteed to get a game, and they're always a ton of fun. And to be fair, that's what Hypercharge is good at. Fun. No, it's not flawless, and there are some parts I found incredibly frustrating and oftentimes boring, but I still had fun with it. There are a lot of things that prevent me from loving it, and I feel like that if the developers refined a few things here and there, like the other multiplayer modes and some of the guns feeling inadequate, then it could have been a game that I easily would have sunk hundreds of hours into. But unfortunately, I think the game has way too many flaws for me to wholeheartedly recommend. Yes, it has a lot of content and fun to be had, but the flaws are too prevalent to ignore, which is why I'm sad to say that Hypercharge Unboxed gets a reckon mix on the Gamer-Pinion rating scale. However, if you look hard enough and stick around, there's a lot to love here, and whilst I don't think it's the game that will cleanse the oversaturated shooter genre, there is still a lot to sink your teeth into. If you're looking for a shooter game that does something a bit different with the genre and provides you with a brand new perspective, then I would check this one out. Or you could just wait for the next Call of Duty to arrive in the next couple of weeks, months, days. Oh my god, that was fucking quick. Hooray! More money for Activision, everybody. Woo!